Time for more Danganronpa.
Danganronpa.
Anyway, Kyoko, you actually did have a reason to kill her.
Huh? She did?
She thought Mukuro was the ultimate despair. In other words, the mastermind behind everything. So she killed her to try and put a stop to all this. Isn't that right, Kyoko? But you made one catastrophic mistake. Mukuro wasn't the mastermind at all. And as a result, we were forced into another trial. Something I'm sure you weren't at all expecting.
So, that was her motive?
If she had a motive and no alibi, well then, I think it's pretty clear Kyoko's gotta be the culprit.
I'm not the only one without an alibi. Makoto's explanation is still insufficient.
Huh?
The sprinklers didn't get the body wet, but that doesn't mean the murder happened when he said it did.
What are you...
Because you see, there is a way the body could have avoided getting wet.
Interesting. I'm listening.
All it would take is covering the body with a certain something to keep it from getting wet.
A certain something at the scene was used to cover the body. Could it have been the tarp?
I got it! You're talking about the tarp, aren't you?
You catch on quick. You're right. All you'd have to do is cover the body with the tarp, and that'd take care of the water. In fact, that's exactly what the killer did. The dirt pattern on the tarp can attest to that. Only one side of the tarp got dirty, because that's the side that got covered in water. The side that faced down over the body, meanwhile, kept perfectly clean. This proves that the killer used the tarp to keep the body from getting soaked.
But why would they go to all that effort just to keep the body from getting wet?
Most likely so they could cloud the issue of when the murder actually took place. In other words, to create an excuse exactly like the one Makoto just gave us.
Why would Kyoko say that? Why would she want to make me look like the killer? No, I can't think about that right now. That tarp. If it was used the way Kyoko said, the tarp must have been touched by the body, right? But the body...
Wait. Something's not right.
And what might that be?
I can't worry about Kyoko's motivations. If I don't do something, everyone's gonna think I'm the killer. I have to refute what Kyoko said.
By covering the body with the tarp, the killer prevented it from getting wet.
So the reason the tarp was only dirty on one side is because the sprinkler got that side wet.
But the underside of the tarp, it was totally spotless, right?
It's because that side was protected from the water. Since it was facing down toward the body, of course it didn't get dirty.
No, it's wrong. Actually, one side being clean is pretty strange if you think about it. Because the blood wasn't dry before the body got blown up, right? Byakuya said it himself. Not to touch it, or you might get some on you. If you put a tarp on a body in that state, it absolutely would have gotten blood on it.
Well, maybe the culprit washed it, so nobody would know they'd used it.
If they had, they would have washed both sides. Just washing the one side wouldn't hide anything.
Oh, yeah, true.
More than that, what if the very blood we saw on the body was meant as a kind of camouflage?
Huh? The blood was camouflage.
What if, after the killer used the tarp to avoid the sprinklers, they then covered the body in blood that didn't belong to the victim?
You mean someone else's blood? Where would they get something like that?
I know! They could have grabbed some of the blood packs from the nurse's office. That's what Hifumi did, right? When he pretended to be dead?
No, that's not what happened this time. The killer got the blood from right there in the garden.
They got the blood right there in the garden, right? Which must mean...
I got it! Could it have been chicken blood?
What? Chicken blood?
When I checked the chicken coop before the murder, there were 5 chickens. But after the murder, there were only 4.
So, you're saying someone killed a chicken and then covered the body with its blood? Man, that's messed up.
Killing a living thing just to do something like that is awful. They should have at least eaten it.
I wonder if the killer had to get the blood from the scene so they wouldn't be spotted walking around. Anyway, there's no denying that a chicken went missing, which provides a basis for my theory.
Perhaps, but even so, there's one thing that still doesn't make sense. You said the culprit used the tarp to avoid the water and then covered the body in blood, right? But if that's the case, then the blood should have soaked into the ground around the body. But that's not what we saw. Only the victim's clothing had blood on it. The ground was completely clean.
I have to agree, that certainly is strange. Maybe they didn't apply the blood at the scene. Maybe they covered the coat in blood beforehand.
They covered it beforehand?
When you discovered the body, was it wearing the coat like you normally would?
I think so. Wait, no. The head was through the neck hole, but the arms weren't in the sleeves.
Then that settles it.
Sorry, I'm having a tough time keeping up. What settles what?
Here's what happened. The murder took place before the sprinklers went off. But the body didn't get wet because the killer covered it with the tarp. Then, later, at the same time the killer was gathering up the tarp, they pulled the coat over the body, the coat they'd already covered in blood. This series of cover-ups was meant to disguise the actual time the murder occurred. They wanted us to think the murder happened sometime after the sprinklers had gone off, at 7:30.
If that's actually what took place, it certainly becomes possible that the murder happened earlier.
But to pull all that off, wouldn't they have had to go back to the garden after the sprinklers turned off?
That actually wouldn't have been all that difficult.
Huh?
They already had the coat ready, so they just had to grab the tarp and pull the coat over the body. They'd be done in no time.
Maybe. But still.
Hina, after you met up with Makoto in the dining hall, did you two stay together from that point on?
Oh no. I headed off to the gym, and Makoto didn't show up till later.
Then he had plenty of time to spare, wouldn't you say?
That's not...
Don't bother saying it's not possible.
I must admit, Kyoko's reasoning is sound. Makoto's alibi is inadequate.
And the suspicion falls back on me again. But why? Why is Kyoko trying to entrap me? I don't understand. Okay, we have a new piece of evidence.
Looks like we're back to square one. Makoto's alibi is no good, so once again, our suspects are him and Kyoko.
For serious, man? Which one of them did it? Hey, why don't we let luck decide? Let's flip a coin. 50-50 odds.
Oh!
See? Pretty good idea, right?
No, not that. I just remembered something super serious.
Well, don't just stand there. Out with it.
You know that knife we found all black and burnt?
One we found stuck in the body before it exploded, right? According to the Monokuma file, the knife went all the way through, from front to back. So, what about it?
I'm pretty sure I'd seen that knife somewhere before. That's what I thought when I first saw it. I just remembered.
Listen, more important. Now that we have the knife, what are we gonna do with it? We can't let Toko keep it, that's for sure. We don't know what she might do. I don't want it anyway. So what to do? Why don't you hang on to it, Makoto? Huh? Me?
It's the knife we gave to Makoto?
You don't seem surprised. You must have noticed earlier.
Yeah.
Then why did you hide that fact?
It's not that I hid it. It's just...
I couldn't be sure of what really happened last night. I thought maybe I really did kill her.
Suspicious! Very suspicious indeed. The knife we found stuck in the body came from Makoto. Now I'm totally convinced he did it. 12,000% convinced.
Considering everything up until now, I should be able to make it clear. I have to prove that I didn't murder anyone. I'm not the killer.
The knife we found lodged in the dead body.
It's the same one we gave to Makoto.
It really is, isn't it? I was afraid of that.
If he did have that knife before, then... that seals it! Makoto did it!
Just because I had the knife once? That automatically makes me the killer?
Well, Getting stabbed is what killed her, right?
No, that's wrong. Wait, hold on. The stab wound isn't what killed Mukuro. That should be clear from the description of the cover-up we just heard.
Lies! We never talked about what killed her!
No, don't you remember? The killer covered the dead body with the tarp and then put the bloody coat on it, right? In other words, the victim never wore that blood-stained coat until after they were dead.
Okay, fine. So what?
So, when we discovered the body, the knife had been thrust through the coat along with the body. Meaning, if she wasn't stabbed until the coat was put on, and she was already dead at that point, obviously the stab wound isn't what killed her.
Maybe you stabbed her twice. Once to kill her and once to cover it up.
The victim was stabbed twice in the same spot? No, there's no way that's possible. The exact condition of the body was written down for everyone to see in the Monokuma file.
The Monokuma file clearly states that there was only one stab wound.
Oh yeah, it sure did. Totally forgot about that.
And the knife.
Was just another piece of camouflage set up by the true killer. They probably stabbed her to draw attention away from what actually killed her. Exploding the body afterward was probably meant to do the same thing. The explosion severely damaged the body, making it impossible to know what really killed her. It was all the killer's attempt to destroy all evidence of their crime.
So they wanted us to notice the stab wound and then detonated the body afterward. They meant for us to latch onto the knife as the cause of death, then destroy any evidence proving otherwise.
Oh, hey, I have a question. It kinda goes back to the beginning, but what's the deal with that explosion anyway? Why'd the body just blow up all of a sudden like that?
If you bothered to put that lump of gray matter between your ears to use, you'd know the answer.
Well, if you're so smart, just tell me.
I'll tell you. I bet some unknown quantum particle caused an atomic-level spontaneous combustion!
I might be dumb, but even I'm not dumb enough to believe that.
Go ahead, Makoto. Tell her or we won't make any headway on this.
There's only one explanation I can think of for the explosion. It's gotta be the fragments.
I got it! After the explosion, we found a tiny fragment of something on the ground near the body, right? That fragment reveals the cause of the explosion.
Huh? You know, I feel like I've seen something like it somewhere before.
That's only natural, because of course, we saw the same thing when we dismantled Monokuma. It's part of a bomb.
Oh! Then the explosion was because of the Monokuma bomb.
Anyway, the culprit's motive is becoming more and more obvious by the minute. They wanted the knife wound to look like the fatal injury so that we'd suspect Makoto. And the only one who would benefit from that is the only other possible suspect, you, Kyoko.
Hold on a second, Byakuya.
What's the problem?
Well, I just feel like we need to think this through. We still don't know what actually killed the victim.
That's true. It's definitely bugging me. What really killed her?
Fine, I have no problem with that. Let us continue the debate. It won't change the facts of the case regardless.
We need to determine what ultimately killed the victim. I need to concentrate.
Then shall we continue the debate? The victim's fatal injury has yet to be determined, correct?
The explosion didn't kill her for sure. I guess.
Well, yeah. She was already totally dead when that happened.
And it wasn't because of the knife, right? And then there's only one other thing.
Oh, yeah. According to the Monokuma file... That's gotta be it! There was evidence that showed she was hit on the back of her head.
And more than that, the victim had suffered countless wounds across her entire body.
The knife was a cover-up and all those other wounds were old, which only
Then
leaves...
shall we continue the debate? The victim's fatal injury has yet to be determined.
No, it's wrong. Mukuro died because of the blow to the back of the head she suffered.
What about the wounds all over the rest of her body? They didn't have anything to do with it?
The Monokuma file makes it clear that those weren't fresh wounds.
Oh yeah, good point. If they were old, I guess they don't really matter.
Okay, then we're safe in assuming the blow to the back of her head is what killed her.
But then, what was the murder weapon?
The Monokuma file says she was hit with a blunt object, about as thick as a metal pipe.
Oh! I bet it was the pickaxe!
How is that even possible? If you hit someone with that, it'd cave their skull in completely.
Well, maybe they held it the other way and hit her with the handle.
No way! The balance would be all off. You wouldn't be able to swing it with any kind of power. I wouldn't mind testing it on you if you want.
No thanks. I bet you just hit me with the metal end and call it an accident.
I'd love to scoop out that nasty brain of yours, throw it on the ground and spit on it.
I feel the same way. Looks like we're on the same page this time.
Seriously?
We want to figure out what killed her, right? It just so happens we already know.
We already know? I knew we could count on you, Master.
So what was it?
Go ahead and tell them, Makoto. Surely you've deduced the real murder weapon?
The real murder weapon... What could it be? What would have hit someone in the back of the head? We have a wood block or some arrows, and that's it. Had to be the arrows.
I got it! Mukuro was hit in the back of the head with something. And that's what killed her. And that something was the titanium arrow we found in the locker in the dojo.
An arrow? That's what the Cobra attacked Mukuro with?
Indeed. There's no doubt about it.
Are you sure? That sounds kind of weird.
Hey! How dare you backtalk, Master? You have no right!
I'm not back-talking anything. I'm just saying what I think.
I don't blame Hina for doubting it because there's one more thing about that weapon. One more secret.
The titanium arrow. It was in the dojo locker, right? I have no doubt that was the murder weapon.
Are you sure?
You don't sound convinced. What's the problem?
Well, because in the Monokuma file, it said the weapon must have been about as thick as a metal pipe, right? It seems like an arrow would just be too thick.
No, it's wrong. You're right. Just the one arrow would have been too weak. That's why the killer used another weapon.
Another weapon?
Inside the dojo locker, we also found a balled-up wad of duct tape. The killer probably used this duct tape to bind multiple arrows together. Bundling them together using the duct tape would easily create a single weapon as thick as a pipe. And that's exactly what the killer did.
It's similar to Aesop's fable about the bundle of sticks. One stick is weak, but put them together and they become strong. It's meant to teach cooperation.
Damn, that's harsh.
How is it harsh? Are you even listening?
Anyway, that explains the murder weapon. As for who the culprit is that stashed the weapon in the dojo locker, it was you, Kyoko.
I've never been to the dojo.
Oh no, you absolutely have.
How can you say that with such confidence?
Because we have proof, of course. Don't we, Makoto? What's the matter? Surely you don't intend to protect a murderer. You know what will happen if you do, don't you? If you cover for the culprit, there's only one thing that can lead to. The death of us all, remember?
Of course I remember.
Then show us. Show everyone the evidence that proves Kyoko went to the dojo.
I have evidence. Evidence that Kyoko went to the dojo. It must be connected to that dojo locker. The wood block key, I guess.
I got it! The one thing that proves Kyoko was in the dojo is right here. The key to the dojo locker.
And how does that prove anything?
Because I found it in your room.
It was in my room?
Don't bother trying to play dumb. That key is just the final piece of the puzzle. Your non-existent alibi, your clear motive, your attempts to frame Makoto for the crime. This all proves that you are the true culprit. You can't explain this away, so just give up.
Hold on a second.
Not this again. You really are dead set on defending her, aren't you?
No, it's not that I want to defend her. It's just, there's one more thing I need to ask her. Kyoko, I want you to tell me something. Last night, you were in my room, weren't you? Why? What were you doing there? That's what I need to know.
I was just protecting you.
What?
She was protecting me? Then does that mean she knew I was being attacked? And she came to my rescue? Could that be when... Which would mean that Kyoko... She killed someone for me? Well, that's where we're going to leave today's episode. Thanks for watching and come see what happens next time. Bye for now.